Hello everyone, my name is Braden Hulett, and this is my oral presentation on pesticides and their effect on humans and their well-being, as well as the environment and its well-being. It is important for us to, as a bit of supplementary knowledge before we get into anything, to understand what pesticides are. So pesticides are, chemicals that are used to kill any kind of thing that's defined as a pest, which is going to be something that is, harmful, annoying, or just downright dangerous to human health. And pesticides will typically be herbicides, insecticides, or fungicides. And these chemicals will typically be organophosphates, which are the most dangerous, carbamates, which are second dangerous, and organochlorines, which are the third dangerous. And it is important for us to realize what groups are affected by pesticides for us to know why we should really even care that these have an effect in the first place. So pesticides mainly affect groups in rural communities in which large-scale agricultural work is being done. And because this large-scale agricultural work is being done, that also means that there's going to be large-scale pesticide use in the fields, typically, which means that rural communities and especially farmers are going to be greatly affected by long-term chronic exposure to many of these pesticides, which means that these people in their later years of their life will most likely be experiencing some of the effects that I'll be talking about coming up. One of the effects of pesticides on humans is going to be Parkinson's. Now, Parkinson's has been shown to have a connection to the pesticide named paraquat, and essentially Parkinson's develops because of the degradation of the nigrostratic system, and paraquat causes redox in organic systems, which means that it causes a lot of oxygen and it oxidates a lot of things, and the nigrostratic system is sensitive to oxidation, which means that it causes great harm upon it, which means that subsequently it also causes Parkinson's. So upon acute exposure or chronic exposure to paraquat, a person has greatly increased chances of developing Parkinson's in turn. Now, it doesn't just end at Parkinson's. It has also been demonstrated that humans can also be affected by Alzheimer's when they are when they are exposed to the chemical rhodonine. Rhodonine is a pesticide which has been determined to cause an increase of neuron tangles and plaques, which have a positive correlation with Alzheimer's, because people whose brains have Alzheimer's have many plaques and tangles, as you can see in this diagram right here. So because rhodonine, obviously causes these things, it has a correlation with causing Alzheimer's, which is just yet another health effect of pesticides. And it has also been demonstrated to have a effect on the estrogen receptor, specifically with organochlorines, which you could see right there. Organochlorines essentially are pesticides which have been demonstrated to have an effect on the cortical neurons in our brain. And essentially, when the organochlorine affects these cortical neurons, the estrogen receptor is no longer capable of working correctly. And while that might not seem significant at first, it is important to realize that estrogen is not just a feminine hormone. It is also responsible for a lot of biological functions in men's body as well. So the disruption of estrogen is a very grave problem when it comes to, not being able to work properly, regardless of if you're a man or a woman. The most dire effect of pesticides in humans, however, is its capability of disrupting acetylcholinesterase. And this is an enzyme that is responsible for the breakdown of acetylcholine, which is responsible for the sensitivity of our neurons. This basically makes sure that our neurons are kind of firing properly with the correct power, and not just kind of giving off a weak charge, and giving us strong signals. But when this builds up too much, we have increased sensitivity to a point where it could become hazardous and it could cause us to have seizures. And when we have this buildup of this acetylcholine, because the acetylcholinesterase is disrupted, we have cell death in our brains and in our neurons, which obviously is a very, very bad problem. And these are typically caused by organophosphates, as talked about earlier. But additionally, it's important to understand that pesticides don't just affect humans, but they also affect the environment. And as a bit of supplemental knowledge to understand how pesticides even get into the environment in the first place, you could first cause by spray drift, which could be caused by crop dusting, as we showed in an image earlier, or just normal spraying, where the wind carries it away and brings it into the surrounding environment. It could also be caused by the process of volatilization, which is when it evaporates into the air, upon which point it is precipitated and then spread widely across an entire region, chronically poisoning pretty much everything in a wide area to pesticides. It could be caused by runoff in crop fields, and it could also be caused by soaking into the soil and then getting into the water wells and the water underground, upon which when it can be brought up and consumed by typically humans, since we are the ones who use wells, but that's how pretty much the pesticides get around. And upon the pesticide getting around, it could get into the surrounding vegetation, which are non-tolerant to pesticides because they were never designed to be, and it starts killing them and ruining the environments in them. But it goes beyond, just having, this effect on the plants. It also affects the animals very greatly as well. Typically high food chain predators, and it happens through a process of biomagnification, which you can see happening right here, in which the amount of pesticides, the concentration increases as it goes up the food chain, because they need to consume more and more and more as it goes up. So then you have extremely poisoned birds such as bald eagles, which end up dying. Additionally, pesticides from runoffs from fields can go into water sources such as lakes or rivers, which can kill the plant life on the bottom of it, which rapidly decreases the oxygen levels in the water, which kills fish, which kills everything else in the water, because when the fish die, they rot and release a whole bunch of nasty stuff into the water, ammonia, just make the whole thing not suitable for life for the most part. And then that pretty much causes a spiraling effect, which kills a whole bunch of other things as well. And what's not really talked about, because we can't see it, is the effects pesticides have on microbes and microbiomes. And this is extremely important, even though you can't see it, because microbes are important for keeping our soil healthy. Microbes are what allow our soil to support life. So when pesticides sink into it and kill all these microorganisms that are capable of keeping the soil fertile, everything else pretty much dies with them. So when the pesticides come into the soil and kill these microorganisms, it has much greater effects than you would think on the surface. So the conclusions that we could come to this is that when humans, animals, plants, or microbes are affected to pesticides, they undergo great health harm and or death, and this obviously is not good. So what we can do about this is we can reduce the amount of pesticides we use and use an alternative, or we could use pesticides in a way where we are very conscientious about them not harming human health or the environment health upon their very much inevitable runoff into the environment and to people around them. Here are my sources. I, once again, am Braden Hulett. I hope you enjoyed my presentation, and I hope you have a good day. Thank you very much for watching.